you've had 20-point leads, and those have
You
kind
had a 20-point lead in the second.
in the
in
second
the,
half.
I didn't even
both-
know
both
that.
won, yeah. And twice in 3 games. Is that? I guess obviously it's frustrating to have that happen, but what kind of lessons can be learned from?
Well, you got to learn. We got up, right? We got up. We showed that we could get in those situations. We just got to do a better job of closing. And what happens is it comes down really on the ball defense more than anything else. I mean, certainly you miss shots in those situations, and you don't get maybe the shot that you'd want or the offensive rebound. Not as much the other day. Even when we came back, we missed a couple layups in an open three, and we didn't get shots to go down on that run that they were on. But really, it comes down to defense. And that's where we got to get better. We've got to guard the ball, whether it's a switching situation, man zone, whatever it is. We've got to do a much better job of guarding the ball and keeping it out of the paint the way that it's getting in there.
You called a timeout with about, I think, 9.5 minutes left. Looked like you were trying to break up their run. When a team gets shooting like that, what can you really do as a coach?
Well, we just have to do a better job defensively. I mean, I think I called a couple timeouts in the run, and we just never got up and guarded. And we made some mistakes when we went to the zone, right? We just were not. You got to have a defensive intent, right? Like it's the hands up, it's the feet down. I mean, basically, like you're not sticking your feet in the ground and planting them because now you're really in trouble. But it's almost like a mindset, like we're going to get this stop, especially when they're trying to play one-on-one the way that they were. And we just gave them way too much comfort. And like I said to our team, and like I said after the game, when it starts, especially with a younger team, where there's not that level of, okay, here's the couple of guys who are going to make sure this gets done right? Like, we're going to talk it out. We're going to get this thing stopped. And the team just got quiet. I mean, and that's the frustrating part. I mean, because it can't get like that, right? People are going to make plays. They're going to make runs. I thought our huddles were good, but I didn't think we carried it out to the court the way that it needed to be. So that's where we weren't as good. And we just gave them way too much confidence driving the ball and shooting the ball in those runs. And the same thing happened at Missouri. But bottom line, the other night, we came back, right? And it would have been very easy, the way that crowd was, to fold the tents, and nobody did that. And so there's a positive. It didn't turn into a win, but that's a positive to build on with this group because we made plays. We just didn't make enough of them go in the basket at the end. And it was a 1-possession, 2-possession game there for a while for us. And that's where we just got to have things go our way a little bit more, and hopefully next time it will when we're in that situation.
You talked about communication on defense as well as how the offensive struggles at times had led to defensive miscues or not playing up to the level. But second half defense has been not as strong as first half defense for you guys this season. Is there any?
I think it's a lot of it sometimes when they're away from the bench, right? And that's where it's really you got to come up. I mean, you got to be together constantly. I mean, you're calling the coverages. They're hearing me maybe, okay? A lot easier to hear it in the first half, but that's where that level of leadership has got to be, that we're just going to get it stopped. And like I said to them, you empower each other by the way you talk to each other on the floor. And it's not just calling out a screen or calling out a switch. It's the encouragement that goes into it. It's talking down the floor. And that's what we have to have. I mean, we've got to grow into that. It's been a weakness all year. I think it's a weakness in a lot of teams. And like I tell this team all the time, the team that figures these weaknesses out that a lot of teams have are the ones that are going to be the ones that are going to have a good month. And we've got to be able to figure that out. We've got half our league games left. And it's right there for us to do something about, because it comes down to awareness, but it also just comes down to, like I said, empowering your teammate and helping them out. And there's a confidence that comes from that, rather than getting isolated and getting paralyzed by trying to do your own job. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you've got to really be able to bring it to your teammate, bring it for your teammate in that situation.
So you're just basically waiting for somebody to become that vocal guy when you're on the court.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get that. It's got to be a team. It's got to be a team effort, right? It's got to be a team effort. I mean, Severe's the one that's up in front guarding the ball, so it's going to get harder for it to come from him. So it's got to come from the others behind it. I mean, I don't think we're a team that just says, okay, one or two guys they're leading the way on this, and you'd like it to be that way, but it's not. So it's got to come from the people that are on the floor. And that doesn't excuse or abstain anybody from having that responsibility. But you've got to have a couple people that make it easier for everybody else. And that's what we're missing a little bit right now.
Offensively, both Bonnell and Jordan kind of talked about the zone Florida went to as kind of maybe throwing things off in the second half. What is it that has kept this team from maybe, when teams go to zone in the second half, maybe keeping the offense from going as well as it was in the first half?
Well, I don't. It was in that one. I mean, they went 1-3-1. We got a dunk right away. They went to the 3-2, and what we wanted to do was play through the middle, and we eventually got severe into the middle of the floor. And what happened is we made some mistakes cutting. We missed a couple of shots. The cutting, and we started to call our man sets to it. I think the bottom line for when a team switches into a zone, when you're a cutting movement offense like we are for the most part, you can't stop doing that. Right, so the calls in a lot of situations are, okay, we're going to run on more of our man stuff. We're going to run more of our chin action, things like that. You got to keep cutting. You can't let the zone stop you from doing that. If it's a screening offense, set to screen. But in most situations, there's going to be screens and cuts. And I think that's what hurt us a little bit. I mean, it's an area that you start with getting the ball in the middle, let's attack, or you start with a ball screen, let's attack from there. And again, it's not about standing and waiting for the ball. It's continuing to cut, move the defense, because it's the same guys that were just guarding you man to man. They're just standing in one spot, which should free up even more of an opportunity for those cuts. But our best passer was in the middle of the floor because we thought he could operate from that area better. And in turn, we didn't get the cuts that we needed to have.
What's the key matchups with Alabama this weekend?
Well, they're so fast. I mean, they are so fast and shooting the three so quick. And in the exception of just a couple of guys, everybody they put on the floor can make threes and make threes from deep. So again, our ball screen defense, our one-on-one defense, they're looking for matchups every chance they get. They're looking for what they create or what they feel is the mismatch every chance they get. And we've got to do a great job of bearing down and guarding the ball. All right, not being over helps because they do such a great job of kicking the ball. They make a lot of threes. They take a lot of threes. They get a lot of long offensive rebounds. And the key is obviously, I mean, they're putting numerous players on the floor that can play. But because Kyra Lewis Jr. is as fast as he is, and I'm not sure there's anybody faster in the nation, let alone the league, with the ball. And it was that way last year. He's just a little bit older now. So he does a phenomenal job. And Nate does a really good job of looking for that matchup that he wants. So we've got to do a really good job of not only guarding the ball, but not putting ourselves in a situation where we're chasing the ball, because that's what they want. They want you to chase that ball so they can make the next pass for a three, and then send those guards to get offensive rebounds if they can. So we've got to control the ball as much as we possibly can.
What changed for Anthony? The first half he was dynamic. Was the zone as much effect on him?
A
or
little
do you think
bit. We put him in the middle for a minute there, but then we wanted to get him back out onto the perimeter. We put him in the middle, and he looked to pass the ball rather than score it. And so, like, when you put the guy in the middle, I mean, if you got a chance to score the ball, let's do it, right? Like, let's attack and go. And I think he didn't cut as much, and that was a little bit of it. But he's a product. His offense is a product of the other guys cutting as well, right? I mean, when you got five guys moving, which we have to be successful, that's where a lot of his points come from. Now, he may get it off a matchup. He may get it off a one-on-one, but he's getting it because everybody else is in movement. So I'd say with watching the film, that's the biggest thing. And then they just continue to be on the attack. And that's where we weren't getting any stops. Another big part of it for him and for our whole team is transition, right? And when they're scoring, now we're coming down against a set defense. And in the first half, they weren't scoring as much. And so we weren't going against a set defense as much. And then you get them in rotation. And because they were able to score and set that zone, it hurt us.
I noticed. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Mark.
was going to say, as a staff, I mean, you've obviously been a college coach for a long time. You got a couple of former college head coaches on your staff. When you've had a couple of losses like you guys have had the last 10 days, do you guys talk amongst yourself about, what can we do beyond X's and O's to help this team get over?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, that's a part of it every day. Yeah, not just in those games, but every day, no question about it. I mean, and there's no one size fits all, right? Not for any individual player, not for any one team. So you have to keep looking for those different ways, whether it's how you practice, whether it's the meetings that you have, and that's constant, that's ongoing. And a lot of times it's very natural, like I'll grab somebody else may grab the same kid. We'll talk about maybe what we talked about, maybe we won't, right? Because there's a trust level there. And then sometimes it'll be, hey, we need to get with so-and-so, we need to make sure so-and-so's locked in on this, don't let so-and-so lose his confidence. I think that with a younger team is you're trying to tell them the truth, but at the same time, you don't want them losing confidence because they don't know that it's a long season. We're halfway there, right? This is the halfway point right now. And I think that's the kind of stuff that you just got to keep getting across to your team. It's a very long game, and it's a very long season. And I do like the way they were talking the other night in the huddle, getting back to that. And so we we weren't getting down, right? And that's a huge part of growth. But we just have to keep working on that and attacking what we see as issues and concerns every day, but also attack what we see as strengths and keep helping that get better.
The last, I want to say 3 or 4 games, I don't think Ray's had more than 5 rebounds. How much of that is scheme or circumstances?
No, I think that's something he's got to be. He just got to go a little bit harder. He's just got to go at it. He's got to be more aggressive. It's got to be in his first 2 steps. He's got to escape the blockout a little bit better. And when you're going to be on the perimeter, you still got to get there, right? I mean, you still have to get there, whether you're inside, whether you're 15 feet, whether you're 20 feet. You got to be able to get to the glass when you rebound like that. So that becomes something that he's got to go, right? He's got to be more aggressive in those areas.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you guys.